Hello and welcome to this week's LOLC Securities Weekly Market Roundup. I am Megara Vijaymanna.
And I am Tharandu Amarasekara. This is the sound of profitability. The Sri Lankan government has proposed to the IMF an adjustment of the tax slabs according to the President's office. The tax burden becomes a key topic in the presidential election season. Under the IMF agreement, President Ranil Wickremesinghe's government increased the personal tax burden from 24% to 36%, and the tax slab was adjusted to Rs 500,000.
The government also increased the value-added tax from 8% to 18% in the last 2 years. The moves came after Sri Lanka was hit by an unprecedented economic crisis in 2022. The government also proposed to the IMF an adjustment in personal income tax slabs from Rs 500,000 to Rs 720,000, aiming to provide relief to mid-level taxpayers affected by the recent tax reforms.
Investors gradually sustained newfound optimism, helping the Colombo stock market to gain for the fifth consecutive day on last Friday. The active S&P SL20 index gained by 1.3% and the benchmark all-share price index gained by 1%.
The total turnover was 776 million rupees, while 31 million shares were traded. The all-share price index crossed the 11,500 mark in early trading and hovered in the range of 11,530 to 11,550 throughout the session. Foreign investors recorded a net outflow of 113.7 million rupees. The net foreign buying topped in CIC at 1.3 million rupees and selling topped in Milstar Corp at 85.4 million rupees.
News in the renewable energy sector, the Sri Lankan government will be calling for expressions of interest for public-private partnerships to install solar panels across 300 railway stations in Sri Lanka. This is according to the Office of the Minister of Transport, Bandula Gunawardena.
State-run Sri Lankan Railways has been exploring new avenues to boost its revenue, including leasing spaces above some stations located in strategic locations. Also, they are looking at streamlining illegal occupancy of its lands and increasing the transport of goods and parcels. The loss-making institution has already given some trains to be operated by the private sector while starting new trains targeting tourists.
And now it's time for corporate highlights. National Development Bank posted a profit before tax of 6.5 billion rupees for the 6 months ending 30th June, with an impressive growth of 58%, predominantly driven by healthy net interest income.
The bank recorded a total banking revenue of 22.9 billion rupees for the period under review, a solid growth of 24% over the comparative period in 2023. Net fee and commission income for the period was 3.4 billion rupees, while the other non-fund-based income categories all performed well, netting a gain of 3.9 billion rupees. The bank's balance sheet, resilient and well diversified, closed in at 764 billion rupees as at the end of June 2024. Within total assets, gross loans to customers grew by 2% over the end of 2023, with a position of 505 billion rupees.
Port City investments gather momentum as Colombo Marina Development Private Limited, a fully backed venture by Browns Investments, has been recognized as an enterprise of strategic importance by the Cabinet of Ministers.
The venture is set to qualify for a series of benefits as per the guidelines on the grant of exemptions or incentives to businesses of strategic importance, Regulation No. 2 of 2023. The venture secured 4 plots of land within the Colombo Port City area for the recreation port development projects. This project has created a capitulary with a full capacity of harbouring facility for 243 marine vessels, clubs for guests, food and retail outlets, recreation areas, space for ceremonies, parties and parking space, according to the Government Information Department.
Commercial Bank of Ceylon PLC has raised 22.54 billion rupees to increase its Tier 1 and total capital to facilitate future business growth. The bank offered ordinary voting and non-voting shareholders an offer of one equivalent share for every 5 shares held. The ordinary voting shareholders received at 85 rupees per share and the ordinary non-voting shareholders received at 69 rupees per share.
The bank received applications for 266,079,848 ordinary voting shares valued at 22.616 billion rupees and 17,346,959 ordinary non-voting shares to the value of 1.196 billion rupees at the conclusion of the rights issue. The funds are to be used to finance expansion by increasing the lending portfolio of the bank, including sustainable finance and lending to SMEs. The rights issue came a month after the bank raised 20 billion rupees through a debenture issue.
And for this week's international highlight,
uncertainty is shrouding the world's second largest economy, China. Data released last week is indicating that the economy has failed to gather momentum after its worst stretch of 5 quarters, adding to the fears that China is in for a longer slump. The main reason for the domestic demand to falter is the housing slump, whereby the housing prices have not increased and as a result, the overall economic growth has slowed down.
China's economy expanded 4.7% in the second quarter from a year earlier, missing the analysts' expectations of a 5.1% growth, even as policymakers seek to boost domestic demand amid a protracted property turndown. The years-long property crisis deepened in June as new home prices fell at the fastest pace in 9 years, battering consumer confidence and constraining debt-laden local governments' ability to generate fresh funds through land sales. The slowdown of the Chinese economy is being felt worldwide, where even the world's largest watchmaker, Swatch Group, which reported a steep drop in sales and earnings amid a weak demand in China.
And that's it for this week's LOLC Securities Weekly Market Roundup. No matter what investment decision you make it with the right intel. We will see you in a brand new week.